Welcome to another episode of Chad Sports Talk, and welcome to part two of my 2023-24 college football Bowl Mania. That's right, we're going to the next set of games we're going to talk about from December 23rd all the way to the 27th. And it was kind of an odd time for me to stop. Normally I stop on a Friday, but trying to balance out these games as best as possible, trying to give enough clout for each of these three videos we'll be doing for these bowls. Let you know there's way too many bowls, and yes, I am one of those individuals saying there's way too many bowls. We'll see one of the reasons why here eventually. We're going to go back my previous video because that has not been included yet. On hindsight, I've only lost one of those bowl games, so please on so far how I've been picking these. We'll see how this continues. Let's go ahead, kick things off here. For Saturday, December 23rd, we head over to the Birmingham Bowl out there in Birmingham, Alabama, for the 76th Birmingham Bowl. This will feature the 11-2 Sun Belt champion Troy Trojans taking on the 7-5 Duke Blue Devils from the ACC. Both these programs doing extremely well. Like I said, Troy ended up just winning the Sun Belt because James Madison was ineligible. They got a bowl game anyways. And Duke struggled towards the end of the season. That overtime loss against North Carolina kind of hampered them a little bit. Again, upset by Virginia didn't help Banners much. And kind of get right their ship against Pitt right the last game of the season. The quality running back for the Blue Devils of Waters. Very potent running back. They can just keep his legs turning. Looking at the quarterbacks, the situation, Leonard's going to get the start. We'll take on Watson, who has incredible numbers. Right now, the analytics have Duke as a 57% advantage, and Vegas has Troy with the line at 7.5. Now, looking at this one, I think some of the bigger names on Duke will be probably sitting this one out. Looking to greener pastures in NFL. This is where Troy, the key players in Troy is looking. This is their showcase game. Taking on a quality major team in Duke and look to capitalize on that. And Troy is a very dangerous team all around. Regardless of that, Duke's all of their starters there. Troy will still be a very hard game to get through. I am also going to take Troy in this matter to win the Birmingham Bowl, capping a 12-win season. It's pretty good for them leading into next season. Well, staying in the state of Alabama, now we head over to the Montgomery, Alabama. They're the Crampton Bowl as they play host to the Camellia Bowl, which will feature a pair of 6-6 squads. The Arkansas State Red Wolves from the Sun Belt against the Northern Illinois Huskies of the MAC. Looking at how these games in there, Northern Illinois had to win their last two games to become bowl eligible, and Arkansas State is backing into it, allowing Marshall their time in the sun in the bowl. And right now looking pretty good for the Wolves with 2,300 yards passing, 15 touchdowns. Lombardi, 2,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. Running back ways, Brown is the highlight for the Huskies, over 1,100 yards rushing. With this one right now, analytics have NIU 53%, while Vegas has Arkansas State by 3. I'm going Northern Illinois in this matchup. This is one I am not going to be 100% certain on just because I'm not familiar with these two programs. But looking at how Northern Illinois has been rolling these last 2 weeks, not very stiff competition. If Brown and Lombardi can be sustainable in the Huskies offense, I think this should be enough to at least have them edge out a victory. Now we head over to Fort Worth, Texas, or their A&G Carter Stadium for annual Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, which will feature the 8-4 Air Force Falcons taking on the 11-1 James Madison Dukes. James Madison had to get a waiver to participate because there was not enough teams eligible to play, and this is their second year of transitioning. I think this one is just going to be a one-sided affair. Air Force has backed into this season. They lost their last 4 games. I mean, they had the Commander Chief's trophy in hand, blown out by Army. Then they get routed by Hawaii. Had a chance to take the lead and continue their lead in their march to the Mountain West Championship game against UNLV, blew it. Chance to redeem themselves against Boise State, blew it. The Falcons had a great start of the season, one their best ever, and it got squandered away. They ran out of fuel. McLeod, I think, is going to tear him apart. He's a 3,400-yard passer, 32 touchdowns. Air Force defense should give him some, should try to keep those numbers down a bit. But I don't think the Air Force offense will be able to find ways to counteract James Madison's defense. They may be successful early because James Madison will be used to a triple option. Once they figure things out, I think it's going to be a little difficult for them. The Dukes have a 64% advantage in the analytics, and they're favored by 2 by Vegas. I myself think it's going to be more than 2. I think Air Force is going to find themselves having their 5th loss. James Madison is going to cap off a 12-win season, and they are going to be dangerous next year because next year they are eligible. Then we head up to the Blue Turf Field up there in Boise, Idaho for the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. We get these pair of 6-6 squads. From the Mountain West, you have Utah State, and from the Sun Belt, Georgia State. Remember, when this game gets doused in a bucket full of fries. Georgia State has just backed into this season, losing the last 5 games. Have no momentum going for them. Utah State had to go into double overtime to beat New Mexico to become eligible, and came with some quality wins towards the end of the season to help them get to this point. This is going to be a close matchup. I think right now the line is a 2.5 favorite for Utah State. ESPN Analytics is also in favor of Utah at a 58%. Will definitely be a battle between Granger and Legis. Granger's for the Panthers, over 2,300 yards passing, 17 touchdowns. Legis over 1,800 yards, 19 touchdowns. They both have an exceptionally high number of picks. The running game is going to be a major focus. Can Carroll really lead the Panthers forward? He has a 13-plus 100-yard rusher, while Booth doesn't really get there too much. And defense is kind of lacking right now, especially for Georgia State. They have been just coughing up a bunch of points, averaging close to 40 points a game, especially past 5 games. And that's going to be a huge issue for them. Utah State does have ability to generate lots of points, but also falter. So we'll see which version of the offense shows up for the Aggies. Right now, everything's pointing towards Utah State. Normally, I don't follow suit, but I will in this case just because of how Georgia State has backed into this postseason. But I will also go with the Aggies winning in Idaho. Now we head down there to Mobile, Alabama, in the Hancock Whitney Stadium, the campus of South Alabama for the 6-8 Ventures Bowl. Will feature the 6-6 South Alabama Jaguars taking on the 6-6 Eastern Michigan Eagles of the MAC. And Eastern Michigan winning the last 2 games, make sure they got in there. They've been pretty subpar for most of the season. South Alabama has been just going back and forth. That last week, that last game of the season, getting blown out by Texas State, probably left the foul taste in their mouth. So Bradley and the Jaguars looking to try to compensate that. Over 26-yard passing, 19 touchdowns. Webb, 1,000-yard rusher, 15 touchdowns. Lacey's going to be a prime target for Bradley. should really counter the Eastern Michigan side. Right now, it's 83% in favor of the Jags with a negative 17-point line via Vegas. They're not giving the Eagles much of a chance, not even a puncher's chance of doing much damage. The offense for the Jaguars is never going to be too much. I'll push back on the 17 points, but I am going with South Alabama winning at home as the road team. Then after Vegas, where we'll have our annual Las Vegas Bowl presented by SRS Distribution, will feature the 8-4 Utah Utes taking on the 7-5 Northwestern Wildcats. The Wildcats had a huge story happen the offseason of the hazing and the coaching, and a lot of members of the athletic department leaving. And then you saw exactly what they did. Won their last 3 games of the season. Outgunned Illinois in the final game to get them into their deny the Illini bowl game. Utah, struggling towards the end. Of course, they play a lot of tough teams with Oregon, Washington, Arizona. So, unfortunately, they weren't favored in those matchups anyways. Right now, ESPN Analytics have Utah favored by 77%. The line's also in favor of Utah at -6. Looking at some of the key players, and I think it'll come boil down to the running backs between Utes Jackson and the Wildcats Porter. Both individuals, 700 and 600 yards respectively. Don't find a lot of the pay dirt. They're just a constant force. Which team can really step up? And with everything pointing towards Utah, I'm taking Northwestern. The way they've overcome adversity this season, and then how they handled the last 3 games of the season. They took Iowa to task, barely lost to them, and then outgunned Tagovailoa in Maryland. So definitely a school being overlooked, but I'll go ahead and pick the Purple Cats on this one and see Northwestern prevail in Vegas. Next time I head out there to the islands in the Easy Post Hawaii Bowl. We'll feature the 7-5 Coastal Carolina take on 7-5 San Jose State. Coastal Carolina back into the season. San Jose State just kept running around. I personally think San Jose State should have been the Mountain West Championship game against Boise State. That's just me personally. If you looked, I've mentioned this before, if you looked at their combined winning percentage in conference play, Boise State and San Jose State will finish 1-2, UNLV 3. But of course, if you go off of computer average that takes the entire season, UNLV, of course, will be number 1. So I think Mountain West needs to fix their tiebreaker situation. But they were playing all out in this one. I mean, the biggest threat was the UNLV game when they coughed up 31 points. And if you look at what Coastal Carolina's done, the most they coughed up, the most they scored in the last 5 games is 34, and that was against Marshall. And right now, Analytics has San Jose State favored by almost 60%, and the line is the Spartans at 10. I will push back on the 10 because I think this will be a lot closer. Coastal Carolina is a very good school, very quality school. McCall should try to get some decent numbers in there, but he does make a lot of mistakes. Cordero is going to be a focal point for that Spartan offense, over 25 yards passing. Robinson, 1,000-yard rusher. A lot of things. San Jose State has a lot of quality players there. I'm going with San Jose State in this one. I will push back on the double-digit win because I think Coastal Carolina make it a little bit closer, but won't be enough. Now it's time to head up to the Motor City and Ford Field for the Quick Lane Bowl. Now it featured the 7-5 Bowling Green Falcons taking on the 5-7 Minnesota Golden Gophers. This is one of my case in points for saying there's too many bowl games because you don't get enough eligible teams available to play. And Minnesota definitely backed in this one. I mean, they lost a close one to the Illini. got beat up by Purdue, manhandled by Ohio State, outplayed by Wisconsin. Quarterback play, not what it needs to be. Running back play, nowhere near what it needs to be. Defensive wise, coughing up way too many points, especially the last 4 games. While Bowling Green haven't been really playing a lot of tough opponents. The toughest opponent was Toledo, and they barely won by 1 point because Bowling Green decided to go for the gusto. So with that being said, I mean everything points towards Minnesota right now. Vegas likes them by 3.5. Their favors 60% in the analytics. Do I think a 5-7 Minnesota is better than 7-5, better than the 7-5 Bowling Green? I myself would say yes. I almost want to go with Bowling Green on this one. I want to say they're going to give Minnesota all they can handle, and I think they will. I will say it'll be less than 3.5. I think it'll be like a 1 or 2 point advantage. So I'll go like a 1.5, but I will go with the Golden Gophers edging out the Falcons of Bowling Green. Now we head out there to the campus of SMU in Dallas, Texas for the Servo Pro First Responder Bowl, which will feature 7-5 Texas State Bobcats of the Sun Belt taking on the 6-6 Rice Owls of the American. And Rice had to win their last 2 games to get in there. Texas State had great showing them again this season, with especially a huge win in Baylor. Went toe-to-toe with UTSA. It was a quality loss, I do believe. Battle back and forth. Going to step up to the plate in Sun Belt matches where they should have won and fell short. So that kind of helped them out. Didn't help them at all. Of course, getting 77 points blasted on by Arkansas State will kind of really sting you. I like how they bounced back that following week by scoring 52 points to South Alabama. So make sure they don't have that nagging feeling over them. Finley, over 3,200 yards passing, 24 touchdowns. My D's have 1,200 yards rushing with 10 touchdowns. For the Rice Owls, Daniels, a 2,400-yard passer with 21 touchdowns. So a very prolific passing attack by both squads. Trying to see who comes out on top right now. Analytics have ESPN at 61%. Vegas has Texas State at 5.5. So they definitely see the aspects both offenses playing, which defense can step up. Rice defense has definitely been very keen, only allowing 28 points in 2 games. Where Texas State's allowed 44 points in their last game of the season. So Texas State's defense definitely needs to step up and handle this situation as best they possibly can. I don't think Rice's defense will be sustainable enough to really limit the Bobcats' offense. I think Texas State will end the season with their 8th victory. Now we head to Chase Field out there in Phoenix, Arizona for the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. The 9-4 UNLV Rebels for the Mountain West, losing the Mountain West Championship. Taking on the 8-4 Kansas Jayhawks. Both squads had some bright moments and faltered towards the end. UNLV losers 2 in a row. Cincinnati, after losing 2 in a row, finished with a win against Cincinnati to get them to the 8-4 mark. Looking at the key aspects, I mean it points towards UNLV because Maivia should be a prominent passer, almost 28 yards passing, but he does throw a lot of interceptions. It's almost a 1-for-1 for TD and pick. Bean for Kansas, it's also struggled, but he has a better ratio, a 3-to-1 ratio in terms of touchdown and interception. Running wise, it's all Neal for the Jayhawks. Right now, analytics have Kansas by 72%. KU is 12.5 points favorite in Vegas. I, too, will go with Kansas. I don't think it'll be 12.5, though, but I just think Kansas is just going to be just too much for the Rebels, even though they had a wonderful year, one of the best years they've had in decades. But they're going to fall short in the bowl game. Now we'll head out to the Naval Academy, over there in Annapolis, Maryland, for the Military Bowl. We'll feature the 6-6 Virginia Tech Hokies taking on the 11-2 Tulane Green Wave, a team that was almost destined to make a reappearance in the New Year's Six Bowls. falls all the way to the Military Bowl just because of conference affiliations with the bowl games. Right now, the analytics have Virginia Tech favored almost by 55%. Vegas likes them by 10.5. They kind of Morse code their way into the season, beating Virginia to become bowl eligible. Led by Drones, who has a little shy of 2,000 yards passing, 15 touchdowns. Tudham is over 700 yards rusher, 8 touchdowns. But you look at Tulane, Pratt, over 24 yards passing, 22 touchdowns. Hughes, almost 1,300 yards rushing. There's too much in Tulane right now to not look at them and go, this is going to be the team of the future. I mean, this of all the conference realignments, this is another school that gets overlooked, especially what they've done recently. Them and Memphis are the two I think I get overlooked the most, I believe. At least in my personal opinion, besides some Mountain West programs like Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State. But, you know, a lot of people gave Tulane a puncher's chance against USC last year, myself included. I am not going to overlook the Green Wave. I am taking Tulane, even though they are huge underdogs in this one. They thrive in this type of scenario. Taking on a 6-6 Virginia Tech, I think they'll be more than enough capable to handle that opportunity. I'm going to ride the wave. Now we have to the Bank of America Stadium there in Charlotte, North Carolina for the Duke's Mayo Bowl. We'll feature the 8-4 Tar Heels of North Carolina taking on the 8-4 Mountaineers of West Virginia. This will almost be like a home game for the Tar Heels. Right now, the analytics have North Carolina favored by 60%. West Virginia's favored in Vegas by 6.5. And North Carolina's backed into the bowls. I mean, it's bad how they've backed into it. A lot of momentum going their way. Clemson was getting hot right time frame. West Virginia won their last 2 games to get in there. Of course, not really stiff competition either. So you got to look at that aspect. Now, how many stars of the Tar Heels are going to sit out? That's going to be the big question. Does May play? Does Hampton play? That will change the aspect of this game. But I think that being the question, I do think May is sitting out anyways because he's going to save himself for the NFL. I'm going to go with Vegas on this one. I'm taking the Mountaineers. I think they have a little bit more to prove. I don't really say too much more to prove, but I think they have more talent available to North Carolina because of players opting out for the draft. Now let's head up to Petco Park out there in San Diego for the annual Holiday Bowl presented by DirecTV. It'll feature 15th ranked 10-3 Louisville Cardinals taking on the 7-5 USC Trojans. The Trojans just imploded at the end of the season. They barely beat Cal back on the 28th of October. That was their last win. Caleb Williams, I guarantee, will not be playing this game whatsoever. He's going to just sit out, wait for the NFL draft, where he's projected to possibly go number 1, depending if the Bears hang on to that particular position. Plummer looks really good over at 3,000-yard passer. The Cardinals have lost their last 2 games, especially that defensive showdown against Florida State. USC's defense is, like I said, USC completely imploded. So they have no defense, no offense. Louisville's favored by 7.5 by Vegas. Analytics favor USC at 54%. The USC collapse points me in one direction, and one direction only. Going with the Lou to win the Holiday Bowl. In the last game to cover, we'll head out to Houston, Texas for the Tax Act Texas Bowl between the 7-5 Texas A&M Aggies taking on the 20th ranked 9-4 Oklahoma State Cowboys. Former conference mates in the old Big 12. Actually, their rivalry actually stems way back to the old Southwest when Oklahoma State used to be in that conference. All right, now the analytics favor the Aggies at 71%, almost 72%. Vegas favors them by 2 points. Yeah, A&M did lose their last game to LSU. Still kind of finished strong, but any tough competition like LSU and Ole Miss, they struggled. For Oklahoma State, got manhandled by Texas. Had to go into double overtime to beat BYU the last regular season game. That thumping in Orlando left a big bad taste in their mouth. For me, Oklahoma State is just too erratic right now this time of year for some reason. And Bowman's just a turnover machine, it seems like. He's almost 1 for 1 in terms of touchdown and interceptions. I mean, I know Gundy's going to have these guys playing the way he should, but you might lose some hair in this aspect. I think A&M's going to come out on top just to edge out Oklahoma State. Like I said, they're favored by 2 points in Vegas. So there you go. Those are just 3 days of bowl games I'll be covering. I should do the 28th as well, but I will kind of forego that because there's a lot of bowl games there, and it kind of limits the final week. So they got unbalanced the bowls a bit. It is what it is. So that means the other Bowl Mania video is going to be a little bit longer because I'll encompass the 28th all the way to the 1st. So we got some key matchups in there, a lot of big name bowl games. And we got to go from there. But that's my take. Sorry for a little side comments here and there. I just, like I said, I'm just not a big fan of all the bowl games. Like I said, we need to kind of limit the number down and actually make sure they play in football stadiums, not baseball stadiums, not soccer stadiums. The bowl names kind of get me a little bit as well. I don't know. Sometimes it comes to college football, more traditional speaking. I like the aspect of the 12-team playoff. I think that's a better aspect, but I don't think it's going to be a true playoff until you go 20, meet the SCS model 24. But people say it's too much, and then I'll agree with you there a bit. But it's neither here nor there. I will have a video coming out probably after the college football season, kind of go over how the 12-team would have fit this year. I think we've already seen quite a few of them. I've mentioned that a few times here and there. Kind of threw a 24 version as well. And probably throw out a video towards the end of all this, kind of go, hey, this is how I think things should kind of go moving forward. That's just one old man's opinion on this matter. Just kind of go from there. But hey, just let me know what you think about these matchups. There's definitely some interesting ones. Some ones are lopsided one way or another. But some questions out there. Do you think there's too many bowl games? Do you like the idea of players opting out? There's got to be a way to keep them in there so that way they have an incentive to play. I think if they are allowed a little bit of the spoils of the bowl, that might keep them to play. Some things to kind of think about moving forward. So let me know down in the comments below. Let's mix it up. It really helps promote this video out to make sure this gets out to the ether. If you like what I do, you're sticking around, still listening to this crazy man rant and rave about college sports, go ahead, hit that thumbs up for me. And please, the YouTube algorithm that we all abide to further get this video, to get this channel out to the ether, get to the masses so they all can listen to this old man ramble. Another thing you can do, it doesn't cost you a dime, is subscribe. All you need to do is hit that subscribe button, turn your bell, click that bell icon, and turn on your notifications. Let you know next time I post any more content on my channel. And I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.